Hi, and welcome to Light for Life. If you are returning to our channel, thank you. We value and appreciate you. Our aim is to shine a bright light on your inner splendor and assist to connect you to your magnificence via what we intend to be enlightened sharing, potentially educational, and hopefully entertaining information, as well as encouragement for new perspectives. If you are new here, you are most welcome. We do hope that you will find our content highly beneficial and enjoyable. I am Liz. I'm a science of mind practitioner and a teacher of various healing modalities applicable to all aspects of the self and this life.
And I am Lori. I am a holistic wellness researcher and educator. Welcome to Connections with Liz and Lori. We use the space to offer our perspective regarding multiple different topics that we certainly hope you find inspiring.
Hi, Lori. It's so great to be back.
It's so great to be back. Can I put you on the spot and ask you to introduce yourself and the work that you do and why we're talking about it?
I'm just Melissa. Hi. The work that I do is multifaceted, but it's all to do with healing, whether that is physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, psychically, holistically. And the reason that I do this work is not because I'm qualified in any way to do it, but because I've had 20 years of experience healing myself.
I think that qualifies you.
In terms of my own experience, yes.
Yeah.
And the reason why I do this work is because I do believe that what I have experienced and what I've learned over the last 20 years has benefited me profoundly, and I hope can benefit others too.
Well, I have benefited significantly. And again, for those who have not caught our first interview, you do have a history with a bit of health issues. And
a lot of health issues.
Yeah. So working with your providers, as well as your insight and intuition and the tools that you've acquired along the way, you've worked yourself out of those health issues?
Not 100%. There are still things that I am healing, but for the most part, I would say yes, I'm 99% well.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, considering the history that you had, and a lot of doctors didn't even want to treat you. They basically told you to go home, get your affairs in order, and that was that. So
yes, I was 29.
So instead of accepting their prognosis, I guess, you said no thank you, and you were determined to find somebody to consider treatment for you. And I believe that somebody told you it was probably going to destroy your immune system in the process, yes?
Yes. In fact, they had to deliberately completely shut my immune system down. Chemotherapy has come a long way in the last 20 years, a very, very long way, to where it is no longer necessary to do that. There are other treatment protocols that make sure that your white blood cells don't attack the drugs that they're giving you. But the first time that I had to have therapy, yes, they had to do that. They had to completely crash the immune system.
How did you stumble on the work that you 20 years later, on the work that you ended up doing? What was your introduction to this work? Were you always in this work? Was this something you were kind of born with? Was it something you were born with and developed? All of the things regarding how did you even begin to go within and heal?
Lori, it's so difficult to find a starting point for where does the work begin? I think for all of us. But I suppose I would have to say that I was born very, very empathic and highly intuitive, perhaps even a little bit psychic, and just very open to the fact that there is so much more than this material world to our existence and our experience. The first conscious recollection I have of using my faith to heal myself, I was 3 years old. And my mom had dragged me off to a camp that I did not want to go to. And somehow there I managed to come in contact with a frog or a toad. And to this day, I'm absolutely petrified of them. But I developed a very, very bad wart on this broken little joint on my pinky. And I'm not sure medically if it's changed since then, but 50 years ago when I was 3, prevailing medical wisdom was that there was nothing you could do for a wart. Once you had one, you had it and you had it forever. So I was very, very unhappy because I was a really girly girl and I had this big ugly thing on my little pinky finger. And my granny told me that I should pray and I should ask Lord Jesus to take it away from me. And so with all my innocence, 3-year-old faith, I did exactly that. I laid my one pinky on my other pinky and I asked Lord Jesus, please to take this wart away. And the next day it was gone. So to me, that was just an absolute pure faith. And like with everything else in life, our experiences confirm the beliefs that we already have and strengthen them. And so I held that certainty, I think, to this day, that when you know that you can ask for anything you want, it is given. And if you will just accept that it's already yours, then it will come into manifestation. And I've lived my life by that. So I think that was the first and pivotal moment. And there were so many in the intervening years. I never allowed, even from a very little girl, a doctor to do things to me that I didn't feel were necessary. So, for example, I had a very covertly narcissistic mother who criticized me in every way, shape, and form my entire childhood. And the physical manifestation of that was almost chronic, perpetual tonsillitis. Criticism goes to the tonsils. And so the doctors were advising that they be removed and they be cut out. And my little girl heart was just like, no, don't tell me something in my body is unnecessary. If it's there, it has a purpose. Even if we don't know what it is, you're not going to take it out. I will be on as much medicine as I need to be on, but you're not going to take my tonsils. Things like that. I had a beauty mark on my ribs, which my granny was very worried about turning into a melanoma. So I was about 11 when they sent me to have this thing cut out. And I didn't want to and I didn't want to, but she spoke the fear of all kinds of cancers into me. So eventually I was like, all right, they can take my beauty mark. And yeah, it grew back. They cut it out and it grew back because I wanted my beauty mark. So this has been the journey of my childhood. And I was always intellectually very, very curious about how things work, why they work that way, why people are so cruel to one another, why people hurt each other, why we're motivated to do the things we do. And so as a little girl, I had an extremely high IQ and I was very, very nerdy and bookish. And so I was reading psychology books and Nostradamus and theological explanations of the Bible, all before the age of 13.
Wow.
And so spirituality and understanding and just this quest for what is the truth and why are things how they are has never not been a part of my life. And spiritually, I started out very much in the Christian faith, went from Methodism to Reborn Baptism to the Seventh-day Adventist Church as I studied and learned more and more. And that was where I found myself, but very much exploring concepts like numerology and astrology, and still continuing my psychology journey as well as comparative theology and theosophy. I'd been studying all of that when I got the terminal diagnosis. And My faith informed me at the time that, quote, I will heal if it's God's will. And my inner rebel emphatically rejected that. Emphatically. My God, the God of love and freedom, had given me free will. It was mine.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was my will to heal and it was my will to live, then I would. So that encouraged me in a very big way for the first time to really start looking outside of the box of my established faith. And I started exploring what could potentially help me, because medically they had no hope for me. There was no treatment that stood even a 50% chance of curing me. The best hope that I was ever given was a 50% chance of responding to treatment at all. And if I did, it would give me fatal leukemia within 5 years. So those were the odds that I took. And then I went about investigating further for myself in terms of what I could do to help myself more. And I discovered a plethora of processes and modalities and alternative treatments to do that with. None of us get ourselves to where we are in life, in any sphere, alone. We all have guides and mentors and helps and teachers. And books have been some of my favorites. In terms of the very first things that I started exploring that have meant the most to me, I would have to say Marianne Williamson's A Course in Miracles is perception shifting. Brandon Bay's The Journey is absolutely pivotal in terms of emotional healing and the release of trauma. And then Dr. Ernest Holmes and The Science of Mind is everything. It's absolutely everything. And I think those understandings alone, if they are practiced and identified with, can literally assist you to heal, shift, and change absolutely anything in your life, in every realm. Because it is nothing more than fully understanding who you are, what your power is, where it lies, how to access, harness, integrate, and embody it, and then fully become it and live as that. So teaching people as much as I can about that is my passion.
It's that last piece that you said. We can have the understanding. We can read the books. We can intellectually understand the teaching, but to turn that into a way to use that and harness it and empower it and be it is the crucial piece, don't you think? It is for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The adage that knowledge is power is an absolute lie. Knowledge isn't power at all.
Yeah.
Knowledge isn't power at all. We can know it all.
Yeah.
And it has zero effect.
Yes.
Applied knowledge, that's power.
Yeah.
That's power. So it's important to gain the knowledge, but you can't stop there.
Yeah.
If you don't make choices in line with that knowledge, put into action that which you think, feel, and believe and know, then you're never going to experience the power that is in it in potential. So knowledge is potential power, but that's it.
So you feel as though you kind of came in with this ability at 3, you're self-healing already. For people who might not be quite that advanced, how do you start?
Well, for me, it is the difference between a belief, whatever it may be based on, and knowing. When we know, we don't need to believe.
Yeah.
And knowing is powerful. So the example that I always use is a silly one, but I know my name is Melissa. No one can tell me anything to dissuade me from the fact that my name is Melissa. No one can make me doubt the fact that my name is Melissa. I know my name is Melissa. I don't need to believe in the fact that my name is Melissa. I don't need to trust that my name is Melissa. I don't need to have faith. I don't need to hope. I know. And anything that you wish to be true for you needs to be on that level of your being.
Mm.
You need to work with whatever doubts or lack of understanding or negative emotions or frequency state might be hindering you from having that certain knowing, because that's what it is. It is a certainty and it's unshakable. So therefore it becomes inevitable. And that is the ineffability of it. That is the incredible mystery that we'll never fully be able to wrap our minds around. But once you are certain and you know, there's nothing else to do.
Mm.
There's nothing else to do. And I honestly don't see it as an ability or a gift that I came in with or acquired. To me, it is our intrinsic state in nature.
Mm.
It is the essence of what we are. So we all have it. We just might not be aware of it.
I agree with that. Talk about that a little bit more. I feel as though this is something that anybody can do. You know, a lot of people will say, how do you know that? And I don't know how to answer that. I just know things sometimes, things that I can't possibly know, but I do. I do. And I've noticed that with you and the little bit of work that we've done. I look at you and think, how can you possibly know that about me? We don't truly know each other, right? But we just know. And I don't think that's anything special. I think it's, my theory is that it's something that we needed before there were stores and clothing made for us and food that was set out in the store for us and homes that are built for us. We needed that innate intelligence to survive and to thrive. And over the course of the generations, we've lost that. And it's been intentionally ignored and not nurtured and not even discussed. And in fact, now when you talk about it, you're woo-woo, right? Or you're new age, or you're perhaps even worse, you're hysterical. You know, I mean, the word hysteria comes from old psychiatric tricks that they used to use to put people away. You were hysterical if you didn't fall in line with the norm. And what I'm trying to say is that this is the norm. We're just not educated about it. It's not talked about. Do you agree? Do you have ideas about that? What is your opinion?
Well, I think what happened in the course of human history and evolution is that we went from a state of pure survival, which has programmed our DNA to perceive things that are physically a threat. And then humanity evolved to where, for the most part, those of us who are blessed enough to live in the developed world no longer really have to worry about survival issues. There isn't a lion that might jump out from behind the bush. And we don't have to hope and pray for rain so that we could eat tomorrow. So what has happened gradually, especially over the last 200 years, is that we have become incredibly materialistic. And so those previous devoted to survival instincts have now become devoted towards acquisition and greed and materialism. So much so that we disregard everything that isn't physical, everything that isn't material. We hold it in no value. Our language betrays us in this. When something seems unbelievable, we will say that doesn't make sense. What is sense? Sight, smell, taste, hearing, touch. It's physical, it's material. What about the other senses? Maybe it makes sense to our intuition, to our soul, to the wisdom in our heart, to the intelligence in our body, to the quantum realm. Why is that not a sense?
Yeah.
When something is deemed unimportant, we say it doesn't matter, as though matter weren't also a form of energy. So it is very much the modern mindset. And the truth is, we all have these experiences and we all have these abilities, but we're scared to open up and acknowledge that with one another because, ooh, what if they think I'm crazy? But if everyone would just start talking about the experiences that they have that cannot be physically explained, but energetically make perfect sense, we would realize that no one is immune to this reality. No one has not had that experience. We all have. We just keep quiet about it.
Or we don't even notice that we had it. You know, I imagine there's a lot of
we dismiss
people.
it.
Yeah, I imagine there are people that are going to watch this going, I've never done that. And they don't even know that they have. My mom is a great example of that. Years ago, my sister and I were at lunch with my mom, and she said something about how impressed she is with her daughters who are so gifted. And I just looked at her and I said, where do you think those gifts came from? And she said, I can't do what you guys do. So my sister and I proceeded to list all of the ways that she has been profoundly insightful throughout our lives. She didn't even consider herself intuitive or insightful or wise until we had pointed it out that, in fact, it is very true. So,
aren't we all most blind to our most potent gifts? And there's actually a solid reason for that. And that is because it's so natural to us that we don't think it's special. So until somebody else points out, you know what, actually, not everybody is this, whatever, or that, whatever. And then you go, okay, not really. Because we always assume we project our reality. So we assume everyone is us.
Yeah.
So if I am just naturally empathic and I have a soft, kind heart, then I'm going to think that everybody I encounter is like that and be horribly surprised when they're not. Things like that. So that's one of the ways in which we serve each other, is that we can shine a light on what is truly special and remarkable about you, for you. Because very often we don't see that for ourselves. We don't see our own patterns in a negative way. And we also don't see our own gifts and the ways in which we are spectacular. We don't see that.
And I think that's the value in working with someone else. I know so many times we feel like we have to do it ourselves, and many people are just flat out resistant to working with anybody else, a counselor, a therapist, somebody like you, literally any other practitioner in the world that does any other kind of modality, right? I don't know why we're so resistant to it, but had I not started working with people who could help me see me and help me understand me, I sincerely don't know where I would be. And again, I go back to just the little bit of work that you and I have done. You have you have helped me see things that I've been trying to see for a very, very long time. And you do it in such an easy, succinct, like one little sentence. And I'm just like,
I'm glad.
I'm grateful. And one of the reasons why I want to keep having you on is so people can try to sort of see what you do, so they can be like, oh, I got to work with this girl. Because I do feel like we do need to do this together. We're not meant to do this alone. We're not meant to go through life alone. We're not meant to not rely on one another to do better, be better, live better,
It is very, very hard for us, generally speaking, to be vulnerable enough to allow someone into our inner world, to show someone our pain and our trauma and our struggles. Generally, that is very, very, very hard for us. Again, evolutionarily, we're not built that way.
Mhm.
We're built to present this tough, I got it front. And I'm not one who can point a finger ever at anyone for being independent and wanting to go it alone, because quite honestly, that's what I did. However, life was gracious enough to me to make sure that at very pivotal moments, and they were extremely brief, there were people who came into my life with 1 or 2 drops of wisdom that were everything to me and helped me to shift and change everything. So I've never been in therapy apart from those extremely brief moments. And when I say brief moments, I mean I saw someone once, and then I saw someone 3 times. And I think that's it until very recently. I think how we are raised and how we are built is a very big component of that. So I was taught that you shouldn't have a problem, first of all. You should just be fine, or you're just full of it. You're too sensitive or something. Just get over it. And if you did share your feelings or your struggles or your trauma with someone else, then you're burdening them with it. You're burdening them with it. And so this fierce independence of I can only rely on me, and whatever is wrong with me, I can fix, governed 50 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so thank goodness I could open up to people in the form of knowledge in books, because that was the only way I could help myself by myself. So even that is a misnomer, to think that I did this alone. No, I didn't. Every one of the books I ever read by every one of the authors who has ever spoken to my truth has helped me to get here.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't just have to do that through the pages of a book. There's something very powerful and energetically, heart to heart, connecting with another human being. We're a social species. We need each other. This idea that we can be an island unto ourselves, fully self-sufficient, and not need anybody else. I don't think we're even meant to live that way. We need each other, and that's okay. And the ability to be intimate enough with somebody else.
Yeah.
I love how intimacy is broken up into intimacy, where we really see each other, where we really hear each other, and we connect on that heart level. It's one of life's most beautiful experiences. I personally find it so energizing. One of the reasons why I do the work I do is because I absolutely love it. It gets me vibrating so high. It energizes me. I can do it for hours and hours and hours. And I feel fantastic. It's when I feel most alive. It's when I feel most fulfilled. It's the joy of my life, the work that I do. So, for me, the fact that I get every now and then paid a little bit for it, that's just like an extra bonus that I'm still trying to make my peace with, because it's enough for me just to truly connect with the essence of someone. And people can know each other for 30 years. They know projected idea of the other person. But when you know someone as an essence, when you've connected to their energy, you know them truly. And that connection is never lost. So, for example, I know you, Lori, as one of the most beautiful lights I've ever connected with. Your energy is soft like candy floss. It really is. You are one of the most genuinely sweet and harmless energies and essences I've ever connected with. So when it's time to have a conversation with you, I'm like, oh, yay, candy floss time. Because it's like wrapping myself in a blanket of soft pink clouds. It's beautiful. You are genuinely beautiful. So no matter what you tell me about yourself, your experiences or what you've gone through in life, what you may have done, quote unquote, wrong, things that you feel guilty about. I know you, so you can never convince me that that is the truth, because I know who you are in truth, and I know that it's absolutely beautiful. So that is the gift that we give one another when we truly, truly connect with each other, is to see beyond all this to the beautiful heart source.
And it's a gift for me as well, because I've been able to see that right back. And I've not done that before. I've possibly not quite as detailed, perhaps, as you. Through our sessions, I've been able to see you as well. And it's very unique because I've never had this experience before. And it's almost like I know you.
You do.
I know you. And it's been such a gift. You know, I don't know that we'll ever get to meet in person. We are on completely different continents. I won't ever get to take you to lunch. I'm not going to say never.
Oh no, me either. One
You never
day
know.
I'm coming to America.
You never
One day
know.
I am coming to America. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, life.
Yes, yes. But
Yeah.
but I know you, and I've not had that experience before. It's pretty cool. It's quite extraordinary.
And it is. And you know, it's so simple. It's literally just about holding the intent that right now, with my authenticity and with my heart, I choose to connect to you. That's it. It's not something we do, it's something we are. And if we will just hold that intention, it is. It is.
Wow.
Yeah. And we all have that unique, absolutely unique energy signature.
Mm-hmm.
It's unmistakable.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely unmistakable. And it is our true identity. And one day when this body no longer is, the essence that is Lori and the essence that is Melissa goes on.
Yeah.
And that is not some sort of belief. That's physics. We know that energy cannot disappear, cannot ever be lost. It can only change.
It can't be created or destroyed, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not necessary. It's fun, but it's not necessary to be woo-woo about this stuff.
Right.
Because we are blessed enough to live in a time and an age where technology is bridging the gap between science and religion.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible. Things that religion has always said for thousands of years, science is now starting to prove. And one of the ways that they're doing that is through incredible advances in technology and in AI. It's amazing. But one of these days, we're going to see that it's all one thing. It's all the same thing. It always has been. And the thing that it is love.
Yeah.
It's love.
Yeah.
It's all just love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's beautiful. I wonder if AI will be able to admit that.
Well, you know, I've got some interesting theories about AI, but I think that's for another conversation. Let's stay with healing for today.
You know, pretty much every sentence you say, I think, oh, that could be another hour conversation. Oh, that could be another. There's so many nuggets that you drop along the way that I think, oh, we're gonna have to talk about that. We're gonna have to talk about that. We're gonna have to talk about that. So the other
Well,
day,
I'm not going anywhere. So make notes, Lori, make notes.
I wish I had made notes
I
because
love doing this. I love doing
know,
this.
I do too. This is my juice of life, is just having these conversations. Like you said earlier, just having these conversations is so important. So people don't feel within themselves alone, lost. Just hopefully bring a little more understanding to who they are when they have these experiences. They can hear us having this conversation and go, oh, it's not just me. No, it's not just you. People just don't talk about it.
And you're touching on where my personal heart really beats now. And that is that when people are experiencing something less than desirable,
Mm-hmm.
when they are hurting,
Mm-hmm.
or they're sick, or they're confused, to feel alone in that.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I don't want that for anyone.
Yeah.
I was profoundly blessed in my life to honestly never, ever have faced anything that I've had to face or deal with alone. And I cannot imagine going through those things that are so difficult, so gut-wrenching, so confusing, so scary, so painful, and feel alone. That's the worst. So that's another thing that I am so passionate for people to know. You are never alone. No matter what your experience is, it is not unique to you. And the world is full of beautiful people who would feel privileged to be there for you. Please let us. Please let us. Because in my experience, to have suffered a terrible trauma or to have received a petrifying diagnosis or to have all your dreams just come crashing down in front of you for whatever reason, when you feel alone in that, it's not a big step before you feel hopeless and helpless. And that is never true. That is never, ever true. So in terms of healing, whether that's emotional or mental or physical, trauma, history, whatever it is that needs healing, there is a minefield out there of information and disinformation. And trying to navigate that by yourself while you're in a state,
Yeah.
that is also just another layer of a nightmare that you don't have to have. It's going to be enough to cope with the experience and go through the experience that you are having without adding these extra layers of I am alone, or I don't know what to do, or I have no help. And so in the last 20 years, I've navigated a lot of those minefields myself. So I know where the landmines are. And I know what the shortcut is to where you're trying to go. And I'm never dogmatic about what approach is going to work for you. Whatever you come to me with, whatever the issue is, and whatever your personal preference is, I will find a way for you working with that. Because there is no right one way or guaranteed way or the thing you must do. That doesn't exist. But I can help you to avoid, for sure, so many of those landmines.
I love that. Because when I went through what I went through, I was very young. There was no internet. There weren't even any landmines. There were people in my life, but they didn't know any better than I did how to get through what we were going through, as a family. And at 13, your friends aren't equipped to deal any better than you're equipped to deal. And the other adults that I turned to in my life were also ill-equipped. And it really set the tone for that helpless, hopeless, devastated feeling that settled into my being that I carried for many, many years. And it took a toll. It took a huge toll. It took a huge toll on my body. And that set off a whole other cascade of issues. And for many years, it was a very lonely, lost journey. And that is also why I do what I do, is because if I can make that journey a little less confusing and a little less lonely for someone else, then my work is complete. Because it can be.
And that is why we are so blessed today.
Absolutely.
That is why we are so blessed today to have this ability to connect with each other, to have all this information available to us, as much of a minefield as it is. The fact that it's so available, we are so incredibly fortunate. And to be able to use that to help one another, that excites me for humanity's future. It really does.
I love that. I love that. And like you said, there are a lot of options. There are so many options that it is completely overwhelming. You know, when we were younger, there weren't any options. There was nothing to be overwhelmed about. And then the internet came. And oftentimes by the time people reach me, they've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on things that didn't work. And now they feel worse, and now they're frustrated, and now they don't have any money. And I hope to try to reach people at the beginning of that, before
all that. Yes.
Before all of that is, okay, wait, let's start at the foundation. Let's start at the causes and really grow some strong, well, if people know what I do, they're going to think that this is salesy, but they grow some really strong roots and grow some really strong. I think of trees all of the time, because trees do have a really strong foundation, but they can still bend and sway. They can still, you know, they can still blossom in the spring, and they can still shed what no longer serves in the fall. And it's still this beautiful cycle of life. And, you know, we can be more tree. You know,
I love that. Yes. Be more tree. Definitely.
A lot of people say be more panda, and I say be more tree. Be more tree.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I learned this recently, and it's obvious, but you never think about it. And that is that the branches and the canopy can only ever go as high as the roots go deep. It's perfectly balanced. And that to me was just, yes, we always want to reach up. We always want to progress. We always want to grow. But we can only do that to the extent in which we're going down deep, and we're going within, and we're going to the source and the root and the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And our rise, our growth, our expansion depends on that.
Depends on the strength of the roots. Now, whether the roots go down or whether the roots go across, because there are a lot of trees that spread horizontally, right? Doesn't matter.
Both, yes.
You have to have those really strong roots. And for me, for a long time, I didn't have that. And I'm really grateful that I've had the people along the way in the last few years that have really helped me see me. And you talked earlier about the whys. I need to know the whys. I need a lot of information. Why was always my favorite question. And it's exciting to learn the whys. A lot of people are intimidated to peel back that curtain, right? To peel back that, I don't know if I want to go there, right? But it's exciting.
The most important knowledge to have, your root, your foundation, is know yourself. That's age-old wisdom. And that's where I start with people. Understand who you are. Be honest about what your personal truths are. What is true for you? Why is it true for you? And if you don't want it to be true, okay, we'll deal with that. But let's just first be honest about what is true for you. Who are you? How do you function? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? You have to know yourself, because that is your foundation. You can't build your foundation on somebody else. And that is the biggest problem I see with religious faith, is that the foundation is an external locus of control.
Mm-hmm.
The foundation is not within you. It's out there. And that's not because any of the religions teach that, because they don't. if you look into them, they will all say the kingdom is within. So it's not that the religions are wrong. It's that they're perceived incorrectly and practiced, I think, ineffectively. I always say it doesn't matter what your system of faith is, what your religious identification is. I'm good. We can work with that. I don't need to change a single one of your beliefs. What I'm here to do is help you to no longer be attached to your negative personal truths. And whatever system of faith you ascribe to, or if you ascribe to none, we're good. We can work with that. No problem. So I think very often people are super protective of their pain because it's terrifying.
Yes.
And their faith because it's their only hope.
Yes.
And so the number one thing that I can assure people of is both those things. Your pain and your faith are perfectly safe.
That is really profound. I don't know if you realize the things that you say are in a way, you drop some big bombs for people who have never done this kind of stuff, for people who have never even heard a science of mind or intuition or healing or any of the. I think people have a perception of healing, for the most part, have a perception of healing that you take a pill and you get better. For the most part, and I'm not saying all people, but for the most part, people look at healing on a physical level, and they don't truly understand what we're talking about here is that it's so much beyond the physical. And when you say, I'm going to protect my pain and I'm going to protect my faith because that's all I've got, that is really profound. You probably made people's heads explode. And I don't mean to make
I am not
it,
aware that I'm doing that. I'm not doing that on purpose. I'm not aware that I'm doing that, but I do trust that I hold the intent that what I share is beneficial. So if that is happening for people, that is a good and a healing thing.
Well, it happens with me every single time we talk. And I was thinking the other day as I was cleaning, I was thinking, you think you know a lot about a lot, and you think you've read a lot and you've learned a lot, and then you meet somebody who comes along and blows your doors off. And it's humbling in the most beautiful way. It's so exciting for me to meet you. It's so exciting for me to meet literally anybody who knows more than I do, because I get a chance to really raise the bar, to really expand even further. You think you've expanded, and then you meet somebody who like you is so much more. I'm just like, it's like somebody plugs me into a wall.
Wow. You know what, Lori, it's such a blessing for me too, and I mean that sincerely, because I'm not walking around with this conscious awareness of I am the repository of all possible knowledge. I have all the answers. No. I've just had certain experiences, and I've gleaned wisdom along the way. But I'm not aware of it every moment of the day until someone like you, who is so open and so curious, comes along and starts questioning me, and then actually draws that out of me. So I'm experiencing this equally in real time.
Yes.
In that I'm not consciously aware until the moment I'm saying something that this is what's flowing through. So we teach, we learn, we give, we get. Yes. It's this beautiful reciprocity. And it is that energy exchange that, like you say, is the juice of life. And so, yes, we are all expanded by the exchange itself. Absolutely. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it.
It really is beautiful. You talked earlier about all of the reading that you did. And this morning I was, brushing my teeth, and I just happened to glance at what's on our wall. That's been on our wall for many years. Wisdom begins with wonder. we don't know how wise we've become until we get a chance to apply it.
Yeah,
It really is a
exactly.
gift. It really is an exchange for someone to come and ask a question and I get to answer it. I think, oh, I've learned a lot.
Exactly. It's like, wow, that flowed through me right now. Thank you.
Yeah.
That is the experience. Yes, it's just like our strength. We look at other people's experiences and we always think, how did they survive that? How did they do that? I couldn't be that strong. Yes, you could.
Mm-hmm.
If you were put in that situation, you would have to call on strength that you've never needed to call on before, and it would be there because it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, that's the gift in our struggles. That's the gift in every negative experience, is the fact that we get to call forth the strength that we're not aware is there.
See, you did it again.
Stop. I'm going to get a big head at this rate, Lori. Stop.
But it's a really juicy nugget. Again, people who are listening to this who might be really sick or in a situation that they want to get themselves out of, or just really struggling with whatever it is, to hear that they've got strength within that they don't even know they have, they might be like, oh, what did she just say? It's important. It's important.
Absolutely.
It's so empowering.
Yes. Yes. And it's a way to see yourself in terms of who you truly are, that up until that very moment, life didn't call on you to see.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see, it's all perception. Everything is perception. And so until we are called on to bring our awareness to a specific thing in a certain way, we don't have the perception of that reality. But the moment that we are, we do. And we're forever changed by it. That is all that life is the constant and unending process of expanding into more of who we are.
I love that.
Every experience, whether positive or negative, every challenge, every blessing, we are adding to ourselves more of what we are. That's all we're here to do, is to grow. That's what life's all about.
Nobody even has to ask what's the meaning of life anymore. We've just figured it out.
Yeah.
So
to enjoy it while we're doing it. To enjoy
Yes.
it while we're doing it.
Yes. It doesn't have to be a struggle. It doesn't have to be a nightmare. It doesn't have to be hard.
No. We will have less than desirable experiences. But in the end, they will always be well worth it. It doesn't feel that way while we're going through it. But nonetheless, that is true. So as much as we can in every beautiful moment, we should grab onto every ounce of joy that we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Lee.
I have a wise friend who says, in the end, everything is okay. If it's not okay, it's not the end.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
We're all always in process.
Yeah. And the truth is even when it's not okay, it's okay based on our perception that it's an opportunity to learn more about ourselves, to learn more about the world that we live in, and to grow again. More growth, right?
Yes. In terms of if we're going to focus on physical healing,
Mm-hmm.
specifically for either acute or chronic conditions and diseases, one thing that's very important for me personally to say, I don't resonate at all with the judgment that many people in the alternative healing space seem to have about allopathic medicine. The judgment of doctors and the judgment of pharmaceutical interventions. I don't resonate with that at all. Is big pharma potentially bad and greedy? Okay, maybe. But the technicians working in labs trying to find cures are there with all their hearts.
Mm-hmm.
9 out of 10 doctors are incredible human beings who want nothing more than to help you. Whatever the negative side effects of a drug are, your body is a miraculous healing machine, and it can deal with that. So as much as I believe with my whole heart in 100 different forms of alternative healing and medicine, and I use them all myself, I will never, ever, 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 ever advocate that someone do not go to a doctor and receive standard medical treatment, because it has saved my life more times than I can say. And yes, there were strings this long of negative side effects that I had to deal with. But guess what? I did. Because the one side effect you can't deal with is death.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough one to come back from. So if you have received a diagnosis, please trust your doctor. Your doctor has healing intentions, and your doctor will do whatever he or she can to help you. The biggest question to ask yourself in terms of what am I going to do to try to help myself, the biggest and most important question is, do I have time?
Mm-hmm.
Because alternative healing methods, as powerful and effective as they are, they require time. So if you have a serious diagnosis for a serious condition and your doctor tells you you don't have time, please believe them. Please go for the treatment that they are able to give you, because it will do, if nothing else, buy you time.
Right.
And then you can do all these other things that you want to do. But buy yourself the time. Something like cancer doesn't play. And doctors don't suck their time frames out of their thumbs. If a doctor tells you that we need to begin treating you within a week, that is because science has come such a long way that they can now literally see the rate at which a tumor is doubling and expanding in its growth. They can literally predict that within 3 weeks, this will be metastasized. Within 6 weeks, this will be in an adjacent organ. They can see these things now. They can tell these things now. They are not giving you these time frames to scare you. They're not giving you the diagnosis and the prognosis that they're giving you because they're evil and they want to sell a drug. And so, as exciting as it is that so many doctors are now open, way more than ever, to alternative healing modalities, I sadly don't see the same thing from the alternative medical community in terms of their perception of medical science. And to me, that's tragic, because we should be grabbing with both hands absolutely everything that can help us.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's pivotally important that people understand that. In terms of all these alternative things that are available to you, there is still a lot of absolute quackery.
Yeah.
That's just nonsense.
Yeah.
If you think that you have researched something and it sounds good, please, 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 don't just believe the research that you find. Go and research all the stuff that debunks that. Go and look for all the reasons why that may not be true. As passionately as you look for how may it be true, go and look for all the ways in which it may not be. Save yourself time, save yourself money, and save yourself suffering. There are many, many, many things that work. You don't even need them all. I didn't use them all, and I had a terminal diagnosis, a hopeless terminal diagnosis. I simply couldn't afford them all.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the money. So I did what I could. So that's the other thing that people really, really need to save in the bottom of their hearts. Whatever you can do for yourself, if you will know that it will heal you, it will.
Mm-hmm.
Never fear that, oh, there's this wonderful machine and I can't afford one. Or, oh, there's this marvelous supplement and I can't get it. If only, and maybe I'm going to die because I can't. That is never true. That is never, ever, ever true. The most important things to our well-being and health are so simple, they're free, and they're available to everyone, and they always have been.
Which are?
Well, first of all, mindset. Get rid of negative beliefs. Adopt the most positive thinking personal truths that you possibly can and repeat them to yourself thousands of times until it becomes second nature that is what you know. Work on eliminating the inner critic, the subconscious programming. There are frequency tracks available for free on YouTube that will help you to do that. Subliminal overnight programming, very powerful. Give it 90 days and you will think like a different person. Work on your emotions. Process things like resentment, fear, trauma. Find a method or a therapist who can help you do that. It is essential to your wellness. Read books. Talk to people like me. But absolutely get rid of mental and emotional toxicity. The minute that you do, you will raise your overall vibration and frequency to be more in line with the state of healing and health that is your natural state. And the body will come online and align with that. Make sure that you drink enough water, as pure as you can. Mm-hmm. Enough water. I'd say 3 liters a day. Sleep. You have to sleep. Mm-hmm. At least 8 hours a day, more if you are very, very ill. And if you can't, if you struggle to sleep, stop consuming caffeine. Practice calming breathing techniques. Allow yourself to listen to hypnotism therapies or binaural beats, anything that helps you to drift off. But sleep is crucial.
And I would also say, along with avoiding caffeine, screen time is one of the biggest ways that we activate our brain and not settle it down.
Yes. And there are so many different ways to mitigate those kinds of effects. Eat as healthily as you can, as raw as you can. Combine your food correctly. There are so many different methods. Mm-hmm. And then in terms of what you supplement with and what you do in addition to that, do what you can afford to do. But it's not necessary to do any of it. It's not necessary to do any of it. If you will change your mind, heal your heart, raise your frequency, and support your body naturally. If nothing else, with as good food as you can manage, rest and water. Fasting, just going without food. As long as you do it responsibly and carefully, let someone who knows what they're talking about lead you through a program for that. Fasting, in and of itself, alone, is an incredible aid to the body. Microcurrents, tiny, 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 really low electric and magnetic frequencies can rid your body of so many things and clear your bloodstream. So many things that you can do.
And I do have a lot of resources if people are interested. Comment on this video and we can give you some resources on a lot of the things that were just discussed. I do want to hop back to the last paragraph, though. I find it really, really interesting that you brought to light that, let's say, the Eastern and the Western medicine, allopathic and traditional, how there's still such a gap there. And it's true, there's a huge gap. And even within me, there's a huge gap because I am one of those people, and a lot of the people that I work with are in the same boat, is we've gone to doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor, and it hasn't been helpful. It is hard to find someone good and qualified and open-minded and helpful. That doesn't mean we should stop looking.
I am not naive to the fact that there are many things that still to this day, medical science doesn't know how to treat.
Yeah.
Medical science has not been able to find a cure for yet. That exists.
Mm-hmm.
But in cases like cancer, for example,
yeah,
where we have grown in leaps and bounds in terms of what science now understands. Just my personal experience of having gone through medical treatment 20 years ago compared to 2 years ago, the advances are mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely mind-blowing. It's incredible. I had such a different experience this time around than I did the first time. And it wasn't all that bad the first time either.
Yeah.
So I encourage people, don't be afraid of the help that is available. Don't prejudge and hold yourself off from or apart from because of these kinds of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Most, especially oncologists, are very, very open to the alternative things that you would like to do in support of the treatment that they're giving. All they want is that you're honest with them so that they know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, like I say, in my experience of honesty, in all these years and hundreds of doctors, I've literally had two where I could say one just, yeah, I don't know what was wrong there, but something was wrong there, and the other was a psychopath. Just end of story. The other 98 were angels, absolute angels. And like all things in life, I think you get what you expect.
Mm.
So if you will set the intent that life has the right doctor for you,
Mm-hmm.
the perfect doctor for you, and you ask that you be led to your doctor,
Mm-hmm.
then you will be. 20 years ago, I had to see 12 doctors before I found one who would be even willing to try to treat me.
Right. Right.
But I did find him.
Have you been in South Africa your whole life?
I have.
Yeah. Okay.
I was born here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just curious what communities you've been exposed to. Here in the US, I think medicine is just slightly different. And I'm not making excuses, or I'm just thinking how people are watching this, right? And I think a lot of people have grown very skeptical, very wary, very pessimistic regarding allopathic medicine, especially in the last 2 years. That doesn't mean there aren't angels still out there. That doesn't mean, like you said, we can't ask for that connection to be made and to find the ones who are still dedicated to healing. And, you know, in fact, I don't know if I've ever shared with you, Dr. Ram has created a meeting place. It's called the International Science and Nutrition Society. It's a meeting place for all kinds of providers to come together and simply share what works. Allopathic, traditional, new age, it doesn't matter what it is that you are finding that's working. Let's just come together and bridge that gap. We don't
That's
need
wonderful.
a gap anymore. We don't need a gap anymore. We don't need to do this way only, or this way only, or this way only. It all has a place.
Again, don't judge science
Mm-hmm.
and the advances science has made
Mm-hmm.
based on science that was lied about.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Science, real science, has been miraculous. To lie about science, now, that's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
But that's not science's fault. The science wasn't wrong.
Right.
Science was lied about. So I understand it may be hard to trust. I really do.
Yeah.
But I think if we start removing some of the preconceptions
Yes.
that are judgment-based, it may be easier to see that actually there are so many doctors with hearts of gold.
Yes.
With healing intent.
Yes.
Technicians and scientists and people who are pharmacists who are working to try to alleviate suffering. That is their goal.
Mm-hmm.
That is their goal. So if we will just learn to see the love,
yes,
recognize the love, see the light, appreciate the progress, then we're automatically already better off.
Yes.
And like I say, so many in the medical community are opening up more to traditional understandings, natural healing modalities. Again, because science is starting to show that they work. So yay.
Yes.
We should celebrate that. We should celebrate what science is now able to see and experiment with and prove. It's wonderful.
It is. It really is wonderful, especially in the last couple of years, you know, with this international society. We are working hard to build a database of more case studies and more of what science is showing, not just with
Yes.
not just with this, not just with this, not just with this, but a really holistic approach, getting the right sleep, getting, you know, enough clean water in, maybe doing some of these nutraceuticals, maybe not listening to politics anymore. In fact, maybe turning the computer all the way off and not allowing a lot of that negative to even come in anymore, while we eradicate a lot of the negativity that we've accumulated and the toxicity that we've accumulated. And what I believe most is absolutely what you said just a little while ago. This machine is miraculous.
Yeah.
It absolutely has the only intent for this body, for all of these bodies, is to stay well. That's all it wants, is to stay well. Some of that programming, some of that toxicity can interrupt that execution. You know, if we've got this amazing machine that all it really wants to do is heal, but things get in the way, let's take those things out and see what this body can do. See how beautifully our bodies can support us.
Yes, and that's what I was just about to say. The most supportive thing that we can do in turn to support our bodies is to know and understand that, to trust this incredible machine, to get rid of everything that we can and add in whatever is supportive to whatever extent we can. But to trust that this body's only job is to be our vehicle to have this life. And its job is to keep us alive as long as possible, to keep having this experience. And so if we trust that, it will do that. If we will ask ourselves to please support our healing and instruct them to do that, the innate intelligence that is in those cells will set to work even more effectively. I think I said it in our first interview that we have this incredible resource that we waste. We waste it. We have been given conscious choice and awareness, and we don't use it. Talk to your body. Give it instructions. Tell it what you want it to do. Give it permission to do so, and it will. It will. And if all you can do is wake up in the morning and have one simple thought, this comes from Matthias de Stefano. I absolutely adore him. He's a wonderful little light. He says, if you can just get yourself to think one thing first thing in the morning, and that is just, I am happy. That's it. I am happy. Your body will learn that you wake up happy. And it'll send a shout out to all your systems and all your organs. Hey guys, he says he's happy. We better make sure he feels that way. That is what the body will do. And it's a practice to not wake up in the morning and have your first thought be, oh. But when you wake up in the morning and your first thought is, oh, think I know, wait, what was I supposed to think? Oh yeah, I am happy. Just practice doing that. Just practice doing that. Eventually you will wake up and your automatic thought will be, I'm so happy I'm awake.
Yes.
I'm so happy I'm alive. And then that builds a momentum and becomes something that just increases wellness, happiness, joy, health, gratitude, and all these wonderful states of being that we all want to feel and can, because it is a choice.
It is. And I can't help but laugh because it's so relatable. I mean, how many times have I woken up going, and I do change it. Before my feet hit the ground, I do change it and say, no, 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 wait, you're setting the tone. How do you want to set the tone? Literally, as your feet hit the ground, how do you want to set the tone? And I'll lie there until I can set the tone.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just a practice. And sooner or later, it will be second nature. It really
Yeah.
will. That's why it's called second nature,
Yeah.
because it will become that. So it's a practice in the beginning for a little while.
Yeah.
But we train ourselves. We train ourselves really well. We've just been training ourselves in a way that's less than optimal.
For me, in a completely unconscious way. I had no idea how I was training myself. No idea. And then when you realize how powerful your mind can be and how your cells take those commands, you get really, you really start to pay attention about what goes on between the ears.
That's the thing. We're not aware of what we're not aware of. And as soon as we become aware of it, we're so aware of it.
Yes.
And we become aware as soon as we're ready to be aware.
Yes.
And that is all that enlightenment is bringing the light of awareness to what we are ready to now see.
Yes. I just thought of the thing that I wanted to talk about today. You said something the other day about divine timing. Can you share what you said?
Divine timing is a concept that a lot of people with faith of one kind or another will say in the same vein that they say God's will. Divine timing doesn't exist because time itself doesn't exist outside of this domain. We only experience time and therefore divine timing here in this reality. So it's not out there in the universe like everything else. Nothing is. Divine timing is the time at which we are finally ready for something. So the time is divine, the time is right, and the time is perfect the second that we are. And that is always available, always. So divine right timing is nothing more than I am ready now.
Inside.
Yes.
It's an inside job.
Yes. Everything is.
Everything is. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for connecting with Light for Life. If you appreciate reminders, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you can receive those notifications. If you would like to work with one of us, you can find our contact information in the About section of this channel.
Yes, thank you for connecting with Light for Life. Please share your insights, your questions, and your comments with us in the comment section below. We value your feedback. And we really hope that we will see you for our next episode. We upload one every Thursday. Until then, bye-bye and be joyful.
Until we connect again, we send you love and light.